Boy, oh boy, Spider-Man Miles Morales has dropped the ball when it comes to sales. Stick around to find out why I think that is. What's going on, everybody? I found an article on Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I wanted to talk about it because it is not doing well compared to the Spider-Man before that. Before we continue on that train of thought, let's just read off the article and see what they're saying on the article about it. So I found this article on cosmicbook.news. The title of the article is Spider-Man Miles Morales Game Tanks, 70% Drop by Matt McGloin. Following Marvel's The Avengers, now the Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales video game has tanked completely as it sold 70% less than the first game. The sales info comes from Superdata, a Nielsen company, who reports the numbers where the first Spider-Man game sold 2.2 million copies at launch, but Miles Morales sold 663,000. The Spider-Man Miles Morales game didn't even make it to the top 10 for the month of November, and according to the charts, sold less than Marvel's Avengers, which is a disaster as well. As Marvel's Avengers is confirmed to be losing money and players are leaving in droves, so just imagine how bad it must be for the Miles Morales game. While the site and some other gamer sites try to make excuses that sequels don't always perform the same as the first game's release, I don't think that is the case for the Batman Arkham games or games such as Call of Duty or what have you. And even if so, a 70% drop is huge. Yeah, that's true. That means 70% of those gamers that bought and played the first Spider-Man game chose not to buy Miles Morales. What I find interesting is that both Marvel's Avengers and the Miles Morales game feature politically correct replacement characters for much more popular Marvel characters. As Marvel's Avengers, featuring Kamala Khan and Miss Marvel, who replaced Carol Danvers, who basically replaces the Avengers, and of course the Spider-Man game. Miles Morales is a Peter Parker Spider-Man replacement. What typically happens, and we see this in Hollywood all the time, is that story and content are sacrificed in order to push a political correct driven agenda that backfires completely. Disney, Star Wars, Doctor Who, Supergirl, Ghostbusters, etc. Okay, so that's kind of an odd way to end an article, just my opinion. So I get what this article's trying to imply, that political correctness, or whatever you want to call it, is the reason for the bad sales on this game. And I have a different theory. I don't think that that's the case with this, because I know the first game was incredible. I didn't play it, but I know people who played it. I watched gameplay on it. It looked awesome. And the second game was basically the same game, just different character, new storyline, new missions, that sort of thing. I think it's more of a issue with how quickly they were released back to back. Because see, they're only 2 years apart. Marvel Spider-Man, which was the one before this, came out on September 7th, 2018. This one came out November 12th, 2020. So only 2 years apart. I think honestly that could have hurt it more than what that author is claiming hurt it. Because before then, you got to think, the last time a Spider-Man came out was in 2014. That was 4 years prior to Marvel's Spider-Man. And to give you some perspective, that game came out on PC, 3DS, PS3, PS4, Wii U, Xbox 360, Xbox One, which just came out, Android, and iOS. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. I don't think that maybe that could play somewhat of a factor to an extent, but I don't think that it played as much of a factor as the author probably wants to think it did, or believes it did. I think it was more the hype behind it, right? Because whenever Marvel Spider-Man came out in 2018, there hadn't been a Spider-Man game for 4 years. And I think the one before that, I don't know how good it was. I didn't play it. I don't think it was that great, because I don't remember hearing about it. And this one came out and just looked phenomenal at E3. And typically what tends to happen is you have a game that, like Spider-Man came out, right? It looked incredible. It looked next level. They did all these cool things, it just looked like a Spider-Man you never played before. in comparison to the last game that came out and the ones before that. It was just almost a game changer for the Spider-Man series, right? Well, then you come out with one 2 years later with the same mechanics, same everything. The only difference is the story and the missions. And then you also put that release date around, Cyberpunk, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, some of these other big games that have come out. You could lose some sales to that. So I think it was more of a sense of, hey, they lost sales because this game, basically the same game, just came out 2 years ago with new character, new story, and people weren't quite as interested. Or they had already had their fill, that fill of their Spider-Man game. I honestly think if they'd have waited another 2 years to release this one would have done just as well. Maybe not just as well, there's no way to say, but it would have done better than it did this time because people would have been, itching for that Spider-Man game. All superhero games seem like people have to have an itch for them. And if you try to release them too close together, that itch doesn't need to be scratched necessarily. So, but anyways, guys, that's my opinion on the Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales drop in sales compared to the one before it. And I want to thank you guys for watching this video all the way through. If you enjoyed the video, check out some of the other videos. And if you enjoy those, consider subscribing to the channel. Join the Finfolk Legion. I also stream on Twitch and Facebook. Finfolk Gaming on both of those platforms. And yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good morning, night, day, whatever time it is, wherever you're at. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you on the next video.